Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Unfucking Your CX. I'm your host, Zach Hamilton, and I am so excited for today's guest. Although she's living in Down Under, she is a Midwesterner at heart. Claire Cunningham, welcome to the hot seat.
Thank you so much, Zach. It was exciting to be here. I'm sorry I
I
don't have
know.
an accent.
No, it's all good. But tell me, I got it. I was like, oh, she's a Midwesterner. I could definitely.
Knew it right away.
I totally knew it, but it is so good to have you. We've been trying to get this arranged for a couple times now, and so we finally got it done.
Yep. Yep. It's exciting. Time difference is
So
hard.
I know. But so Claire, set the scene for us. Where are we about to have this conversation? Are we favorite pub, restaurant, coffee shop, on a walk? Like, where are we doing this?
Oh, we are doing this from my home office in Brisbane, Australia. It is winter here right now, which is not the same as winter in the US. But after this, I'll be going to my favorite coffee shop to go get a coffee before I start the rest of the day, I guess.
Love it. What's your favorite coffee?
Ooh, so now living down in Australia, they love to talk about how great their coffee is down here. But I still just love a good, crappy cup of American black coffee. That is my go-to every time. I love it. Just inject that caffeine right into my veins.
Right? I mean, it's so funny. Like, I think we in the U.S. have just been accustomed to such bad coffee.
Yeah,
Like, it doesn't matter what it is, right?
I know. We just want the caffeine. That's
I
to get
mean,
us through.
I'm kind of embarrassed, but like, I have caffeine.
Same, same. I'm drinking my crappy American coffee that makes
I
me
am. I'm
calm.
totally over caffeinated. But you are retailer at heart.
Hmm.
You are in supermarkets now. You're doing your CX thing. You are an incredible practitioner. You've seen it all.
Thank you.
What is one thing in customer experience right now that just fucking makes you cringe?
Oh, I feel like anybody who's worked in customer experience or customer service ever can relate to this. Um, Anyone trying to tell the story of a customer, the thing that it's not even something super technical, but it is when you are trying to relay the experience of a customer, a frustration of a customer to stakeholders anywhere across the business. And the response that you get is, I've never experienced that. That's not an issue. That drives me up a wall. Up a
Uh,
wall. Ugh.
and the worst part about that is if you even ask, well, when was the last time you had an experience? Or you went
Yes.
to a store and they're like, I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And then I will have people, like any business that I've worked in as well, grocery retail, whatever, I will say, oh, this is, an experience customers are having in the store or on the website. And they're like, no, no, I've not experienced that. And I'll say to them, okay, well, when was the last time you were in the store and what happened? And they go, oh, I don't grocery shop. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's part of the problem. So yes.
That it is. This has actually been a topic that's come up with a couple guests here lately, is really around walking the mile in your customer shoes, like experiencing the exact same thing. And I'm with you. And I think the question that I have for you though is, do you think they just like do they you think they truly just don't believe that's an experience that we could deliver, or it's because of a broken, like something operationally is broken down, or is it just they don't really understand because it's not their language?
I think it's such a good question. I think it can be a combination of all of those things. Um, I feel like it sometimes comes down to like the broader picture of a person and the empathy that they have and like believing someone else's experience, even though they don't have that same experience. And I think, yeah, not to go too deep on it or anything, but I think that walking a mile in someone else's shoes, as you said, that's a big one. And people just don't do that. They kind of don't get out of their own world to kind of understand that other people experience life differently and have different pain points and barriers, especially along the customer journey. So, yeah, I think it's a combination.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where it's like I think VOC technology has tried to solve it for so many years because this isn't like a new pain point, right?
Yeah.
Like this is it's just been around. And even if, the customer takes the option of giving you video feedback to try and like connect with you emotionally
Mhm.
as a stakeholder, it still just sometimes doesn't work. And I'm curious, like, do you think they just these stakeholders, I don't think it's a lack of understanding. I almost wonder if it's like, is it a lack of caring?
Yeah, yeah, potentially. And I think sometimes I feel like people can get so far removed from the experience that they forget like these are real people experiencing this and it's causing frustration for them to make them not want to stay with you. And I think they've gone so far deep into the, corporate atmosphere that they forget about what it actually is that they're delivering, what the product or service is and how that makes people feel. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think what to hit on what you were just saying, it's also like from that siloed perspective, right? We only have one specific kind of KPI or a couple KPIs that I'm truly held accountable to. Like I'm not
Mhm.
held accountable to a customer experience number, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
now we might try and say NPS is our holistic like North Star. I don't know about you. Has anyone ever lost their job because their department had a shitty NPS?
Unlikely. I mean,
But have you seen department leaders lose their job because customer acquisition costs from a marketing perspective was out of control, or customer retention was bad, or operationally your district was failing to perform?
I personally have never seen that because I feel like people don't understand that the customer is actually at the heart of every business. Sometimes, that's the person that's flowing money into your bank account.
Right? Like they're
Yes.
paying our salaries.
It's wild to me, wild.
Like, you
When,
should care about their experience.
yes. When companies say they don't want to be customer obsessed because it's not commercially viable, I'm like, do you know what you're saying? It's
Well, and I
crazy.
think, but I only think that they think it's commercially viable because ultimately they've invested into tech.
Mm,
Believe that tech and NPS is the customer experience strategy, and probably the practitioner before you really just ran a VOC and insight strategy and never really connected the dots between customer frictions and business problems. And
true.
so never really saw a business impact, right? Like I totally get it.
Which is so hard to do too. So, I think that's one of those like it's not like an immediately obvious thing to be able to connect. You have to do that long-term like deep dives of customer research to show the impact and it can be hard. Probably
Yeah.
another pain point.
Right.
We gotta
So,
go on. Yeah.
but Claire, you've been successful at this, right? So if let's rewind. The one thing that's like driving you absolutely insane right now is when people are like, well, they couldn't really experience that.
Ugh.
So what's that first player tip for another CX leader or practitioner who's listening right now, who's like, oh my gosh, I just heard this.
Yep.
What's the first player tip on helping them like make them realize
Mm,
this is this is the experience that's happening?
yep. I like for me, honestly, I think the very first point of call, like the thing that is probably the easiest thing to implement and probably has the biggest impact right away is getting those stakeholders, whether it be the CEO, your head of whatever, to go work on the front line. And we hear that all the time, but like whether that could be, going into a grocery store or getting into the contact center and taking some frustrated customer calls or go be a waitress for a minute, like go experience the pressure that customers put under you. And we do that at where I work. So a couple of times a year, everybody in head office has to go out into work into stores. And I love that initiative. I think it's excellent for them to kind of understand how staff members feel, how customers are interacting, in stores and with products and that sort of thing. So to me, that is like your number one easy solution, whether or not they will actually feel like they will be okay to go and work on the front line is another thing, but I think that's it.
I love that initiative as well. We implemented it at Aaron's when I was there, and I think it brings like this sense of just empathy as well to all the employees who are in our stores or in our contact center. Because ultimately, if you think about the reasons why operationally something breaks down and customers are calling in the contact center, is because of decisions that get made in the store support center.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, I love that. I'm so glad your organization does that.
Oh, I
Um,
like it was one of the things that made me want to accept the job there that they did that. It made me feel like it was very customer centric. So great
that's so
initiative.
cool. That's so cool. I'm curious, like, if you think about what comes out of there, like, do you see more collaboration with, your employees, like in the stores on the front lines, or do you see more empathy, or like, like, what's some of the like goodness coming out of
Yeah.
it?
Do you know what I really see? And I feel like I see it every day, is believing stores when they tell you something that's a frustration or a pain point. So like, and I think that where I'm at specifically is very good at this when they say, "Oh, let's do this really great initiative. Let's roll this out." And almost always you will have somebody at the table saying, "Have we checked this with stores? Have we asked them how it will feel? Like, what impact will this have on their day to day?" Obviously, some things get through without checking, but store feedback is really, really important because we know that what's a pain point for staff and team members is going to end up being a flow on pain point to customers too. So I think that having that empathy for the understanding of the store experience, that has really made its way around the support center in particular. So
That's so cool. So
yeah.
cool. What's player tip number two?
Oh, player tip number two. It can be hard, but tell better stories. Tell better stories, and not better in the sense of like, oh my gosh, listen to this really, really irate customer here. But I think we can get so wrapped up in the weekly reporting and here's the numbers this week. And, you just put it out like weekly report, June 6th, 2025, whatever it is. And you kind of forget that what the numbers here are actually telling you is what that customer experience is. So you kind of like almost cover up that human experience by data. And we're all guilty of it. We're all completely guilty of it. But I think adding that kind of that flavor and personality to it. So to me, I'm like, tell better stories, bring in that customer verbatim, let people see there were 1,000 comments this week on the website crashing or something. Like, let them see like the volume, the impact. Um, and even relating it back to their own experience obviously is something that's really important. So like if you say, 2 and 3 customers are experiencing this when they go into the store or on the website, you could say that 2 and 3 is your wife and your daughter. Like, so connecting it with them, helping them to understand, oh yeah, like that's really frustrating. I did experience that and that was super annoying. We need to fix that. So and I mean, we all know content is king, right? So like video shorts we talked about before, like it's really important. It gets the message across.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's one of the things that I figured out. I don't know about you, but one of the ways that I figured out to tell better stories is really thinking about how do I frame those customer frictions
Mm.
in a business problem way. So
Yep.
ultimately, I would frame it in a business problem, but then I'm like to your point, I may pick like two, three, or four like verbatims
Mm.
kind of underneath there. It's kind of like a supporting kind of that emotional appeal thing. So then they were like, oh,
Yep.
okay, I
Yep.
get this. But I think ultimately, sometimes to your point, when we story tell, it's just a bunch of insights like on a slide
Yes.
versus
Yeah.
really understanding the story that has to be told to get your leadership team to understand it.
Totally. And I think, yeah, you had a good point there too, is really being able to connect that, um, some of those verbatims where it kind of speaks to the story, like being able to connect those to the larger picture of the impact that does have on the business. Yeah. So, if you walk in and see totally like a shelf completely empty, what does that do to their brain for the rest of the store? What is that perception of the brand after that, and they consistently see that shelf empty every time they come in. Like, what does that make them think about the brand perception as a whole? So, which everybody loves to talk about.
Yeah. But even think about like, look, I'll never forget when I was in operations at Aaron's and any of like one of our execs, like our COO or our CEO would come to visit. And if we had a hole on the floor, like we just hadn't re-merchandised it yet, because we maybe had to take that living room group off the floor to deliver to a customer. The first question our CEO would ask is, well, do you know what your lease revenue per square foot is? Like that's all he could compute in his
Totally.
head. How long has that hole been there and how much lease revenue am I missing? And
Yeah.
so ultimately, like I had to learn, okay, my COO from an operational perspective thinks about lease revenue and square footage and all he knows is P&L. So that's how I had to start to like really reframe, hey, this customer friction or this thousand, pieces of feedback that we got about the website, that specific website bug that made it crash, here's what it was impacting to them. And then they could connect the dots.
Yes.
But so few people, Claire, know how to connect the dots. Like, why do you think it's not part of our profession?
Oh, do you know what? That's a great question, and I think it's actually same to the problem. Like my frustration is that you don't know how to see someone else's experience. So I guess you think about it like you get so like I do. I always get so stuck in the customer experience, and sometimes that's the only way I see things. Forgetting that I need to speak the language of, my stakeholders, not just speaking the language of the customer. And so, yeah, translating like what these customer feelings are and the perception into their language of commercial and finance and, leasing space and that sort of thing. So I think it's actually like almost one and the same, the reason why we sometimes struggle with that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point. What's player tip number three?
Player tip number three, I feel like it's kind of an ironic one. I would say it's remembering that you too are also a customer. So, and the reason I think it's a ironic one is because part of it is like, well, I'm a customer and I don't feel that way. That's like part of my frustration. But I think sometimes we can just get so like in this, like we don't see the flaws or the barriers because we're so used to it because we work there. We know how to work around this frustration or whatever it is. But like next week, I'm talking to our IT team, and they hardly ever go into a store. So I'm getting them to think about, hey, when you're there, tell me exactly what you're doing as you walk through the store. What bothered you in that moment? How can you fix that for a customer? Because what's bothering you is probably bothering them too. So I think just remembering that your pain points in a store, like no matter how little they feel, it's probably somebody's like biggest bugbear of their whole journey. So remembering you're a customer.
Yeah, I think that's such an important lesson because sometimes I think we marginalize what other people experience because we didn't experience that, or because it wasn't a big deal to me doesn't mean it's not important to someone else. And I'm guilty of shit. I'm guilty of that all the time.
Me too.
Uh, but it's like I love that. Don't forget you're a consumer as well.
Mm. Yep.
And yes, we all might be on our different journeys, but we still demand specific level of expectations.
Yep. And I think, like, yes, I am so guilty of that because I'm probably the person that's like, oh, whatever, like, that's annoying. Like, I've worked in customer service for so long. I'd never want to be that customer that complains about something that's so little. So I definitely have been the person to just let it go and not let it bother me. But I think the difference is that if I see someone else complaining about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I must fix that for you, even though I don't care at all. So yeah.
Right? Totally. This is Claire. This has been such an amazing conversation. If any of our listeners want to get in contact with you, where can they find you?
LinkedIn is great. I'm very active on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
So feel free to connect with me there. Otherwise, feel free to shoot me an email, contact at thecustomerconnection.com, if you really want to kind of chat further. But yeah, those are probably the best ways to do it.
that's awesome. Claire, thank you so much. Please come back to the hot seat.
Oh my gosh, I would love to. Thank you for having me, Zach. It was a
Yeah,
great combo.
thank you. Cheers.
All right, thanks.